Hey, my name is Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the devil's advocate. Now, this is something that's always bothered me in a way, so I thought I would make a video about it and explain why it bothers me and kind of break it down a little. So now, if you who don't know, if someone makes an argument, there's typically somebody else who will make a counter argument. But then we have the devil's advocate who, under the guise of being like, well, I'm just saying other people may argue this, so I'm going to argue this to see your response to this. Now, I'm a disabled woman, so my experience is very much shaped by that. And I find it's often people outside of the lived experience being argued over who are the devil's advocates. For instance, if there is an organization for disabled women, a disabled man may be like, well, I'm just being the devil's advocate, but what would you say if somebody said, why doesn't your organization serve disabled women? Now, people use the whole, I'm just being a devil's advocate in order to avoid scrutiny, in order to avoid being like, you know the answer to that. Like, it's really hard for me to explain, but I'm trying my best here. But to me, it's almost as if they want to make this argument. They feel that it should be argued, but they don't want to themselves argue it, because then they're going to be seen as, yeah, one of those men who always has to be like, what about at like a women's rights rally? The thing is I don't want it to sound like that someone without the lived experience being talked about cannot have a say in the issue. What I do think needs to happen is we do need to really listen to people with lived experiences. That doesn't mean that people without the lived experience in question cannot have an opinion or voice that opinion, but it means we should really prioritize the opinion of those with the lived experience that's being discussed. When I say lived experience, I mean identities. So if we're talking about issues that affect Black people, then we should really value the lived experience of Black people. Or if we're talking about disabled people, we should really value the lived experience of actual disabled people. The thing is devil's advocates make personal experience and humanity, and they make it something for intellectual folly by making it, oh, well, like it's some sort of a philosophy, or if you look at it this way. But it's like, no, I'm a human being. My life is not up for debate, or my autonomy or choices are not up for debate. I am a human being in my own right. The academia, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I find it to be very dehumanizing and very much like everything has to be research shows. Often to the point where academia doesn't listen to lived experience. Like, as a disability studies graduate student, oftentimes we were told, oh, well, although the personal is political, not like that. Disability studies was created by white men in the UK. And white men around the world, mostly white men in wheelchairs, primarily with spinal cord injuries, have gate-kept disability studies for decades now. And when women and people of color, including women of color, try to enter disability studies, white men turn around and said, feminism is ruining disability studies. Feminism makes everything personal and about individual experiences instead of societal issues. Because women are hysterical, I guess. I guess that they wanted to say that, but they didn't actually say that. They just said they make everything too emotional and personal. Now that's a bunch of bullshit, because societal issues affect people on an individual level, on a personal level. So yeah, while something may be a societal issue, such as the unemployment rate of disabled people, that also affects people on a personal level who are disabled and unemployed. Academia loves to act like it's above emotion and above being human, and I'm so sick of it. Not everything needs to be intellectualized. Not everything is a philosophy. Some things can just be you can just be a disabled person and say, I feel lonely, and I feel like it's because of my disability. And then somebody could be like, no, it's not, you're just a shit person. Because studies show other disabled people have partners, or other disabled people have friends. Shut up. Like, I'm just saying that I'm experiencing this, and this is a problem in my life. You don't have to pick apart everything. If an organization is doing good work to help a specific demographic that you're not a part of, you don't get to be like, well, why don't you do this for me? If you want that, make your own organization. If you want an organization that helps disabled men feel more confident, or disabled men get employed, or whatever it may be, then make that. Instead of playing devil's advocate and talking to an organization for disabled women and other people affected by misogyny, don't say to them, well, just to play devil's advocate, but like, why didn't you make this organization for men? just to play devil's advocate, but why don't you make that organization if you're so passionate about it? Or do you just want to knock down disabled women and other disabled people affected by misogyny? Is that what this is really about? I don't know. Anyway, I know this was kind of a ranty video. Maybe it didn't make sense because I wasn't very specific with what I'm talking about. I don't want to start drama. That's why I was very vague and made this more of like some people say. Okay, anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and please comment down below how you feel about devil's advocacy. One thing I forgot to add in this video was when I was in college, when I was in undergrad, I was in, I forget what class it was, but it was some sort of rhetoric class. It might have been argumentation. I don't know, because I took quite a few rhetoric classes, even though I'm not very good at rhetoric. But anyway, so I was in this class, and there was a non-disabled guy who sat across from me, a disabled woman, and he said something like, we were talking about assisted S-word of disabled people, and he said, well, I think if somebody becomes a quadriplegic, they should have the right to end their life. Now, I'm technically a quadriplegic, as my CP affects all 4 of my limbs. While what most people think of as quadriplegia is not what I am. I'm not paralyzed from the neck down, but technically my CP is considered quadriplegic CP. So how do you think that made me feel when he said that? The problem with devil's advocate arguments are they discount how other people feel. As a privileged person, like let's say you're a privileged person, like let's say you're a non-disabled person arguing for the right to assisted S-word for disabled people. You are not affected by the issue as much as a disabled person is. So for you, it is an intellectual or philosophical exercise. But for a disabled person on the receiving end of that argument, that directly affects them. And then they see that you don't truly see them as a human being, but just an intellectual exercise. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.